Hello, welcome to Quackalope, and today I'm teaching you how to play Jurassic Parts by 25th Century Games. Now, if you're curious what this game is, it is a really interesting territory control and set collection game. Throughout the course of the game, you're going to be playing characters who are chipping away at this rock, this big slab we have out here in the middle. You'll be playing down your chisels in order to break pieces off, taking those pieces home, and each one has different dinosaur bones and patterns on them in order to build a full dinosaur. That'll score you victory points at the end of the game based on how many different completed dinosaurs and fossils and amber you've been able to collect throughout the course of the game. Now, Jurassic Parts is currently on Kickstarter. It's a 2 to 4 player game, ages 13 plus, and takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play. So, if you're not here from the Kickstarter link, swing over there, check out exactly what's going on the Kickstarter page, see if it's one that you want to add to your collection. And before we get started here, I do want to thank 25th Century Games for sponsoring this How to Play. They helped make what we do here on the channel possible, so I appreciate it. Now, for this How to Play, I am a giant fan of flavor text, so I want to start off by setting the scene. Welcome, paleontologists. This is it, your first field assignment. Over a dozen dinosaur fossils lie buried in a huge slab of rock. Time and the relentless forces of geology have mixed up the bodies, but that's a small problem for your team. For now, sharpen your chisels and ready that hammer. It's time to get cracking and liberate the precious fossils from their rocky tomb. For the good of science, and your own reputation, be sure to claim the biggest and best fossils for yourself. Jurassic Parts is a game of area control for 2 to 4 players. All players have access to the same slab of rock. The goal is to split it apart and claim the complete dinosaur skeleton. The bigger the better. Who wouldn't want a Tyrannosaurus Rex in their living room? Or museum if the price is right. So, that's the flavor of the game. That is what we are doing here. As far as setup goes, this is a very simple game to set up. The most complicated part is going to be building the slab out here in the center. To start with, you're going to identify these bone piles. That's your wild card in the game. There are exactly 2 of them. Then you're going to split all of these tiles, there's 40 something of them, into 2 separate stacks. One face up, one face down. The face down stack is going to get one of these random bone piles. You'll place the other one in the center of your play area, then both stacks will be mixed together, so you have a giant tower of face up and face down tiles. You'll then start placing them out, working from that center tile and just sort of expanding outwards. This will create a mixed zone, so not all information is revealed while you're chiseling away at different parts of the map. It also means that this map changes from game to game, so the puzzle is always a little bit variable. After that, you're going to make sure each character has their player boards. Each player board is exactly the same. There's just some differences when it comes to the artwork, depending on who you want to play. I have Dr. Naomi Grant here, and I have Dr. Ted Park over here. After that, you're going to make sure everyone has 12 colored chisels. You're going to make sure everyone has a reference card for scoring, so exactly how many bones are in this pile and what they'll result to when it comes to victory points at the end of the game. You're going to set out the field leader, who is not a player. Instead, he is the marketplace, sort of the overseer of this area. And you're going to, if you like to play a more advanced version of the game, hand out 1 or 2 of these Jurassic Parts kind of player cards. These are one-time use abilities that you can start at the beginning of the game and use at any point throughout your turn. And that's going to be set up. From here, let's go ahead and go over exactly what we have in front of us and how the game plays. The center here is going to be the field. This is an open play area for everyone on the board. You're going to be chiseling away at sections of this to break it apart and bring fossils home into your player area. On everyone's player board here, you're going to see a turn order. The game's pretty simple. It's broken down into 3 main steps with 1 universal action. First, you're going to sharpen 3 chisels, then you're going to play your chisels out here in the field, and then you can decide if you would like to save 1 sharpened chisel for the next turn. The universal action is to interact with the field leader, and I'll go over exactly what that means a little bit down the road. Now let's talk about the main state of play in this game, and that's going to be sharpening and playing chisels. Every turn you'll always sharpen 3 chisels. That means you're moving 3 from your doll side, the right side of your player board, over here to the left side, the sharpened chisel side. You're then going to be playing them on the map. Your goal is to cut off clean sections of this map so that you get the fossils as they break apart. To do so, you need to play chisels down until two ends connect to an open area. You can in fact cut out a middle section as long as your chisels create an entire circle, but for the most part, you're going to be going from one end to another end. Out here in the field, you'll see a few different symbols. You'll see the different bone piles and sets that you're trying to collect, but you'll also see piles of rock. Those rocks indicate how hard it is to place a chisel or split apart that part of the rock. So in any of these open areas, I could take a single sharpened chisel and go ahead and set it down, indicating that I have wedged a chisel into that section and the rock's starting to separate just a little bit. Any location with a single rock next to it is going to cost an extra chisel. One of your chisels will dull in the process of cutting through the first layer of rock, and then the second chisel has to be wedged into that rock to start splitting it apart. So here, I'd play one and I'd spend one. Now, another section, like this one here, actually has two rocks, one on each side. That is going to cost a total of 3 chisels in order to play down. So let's say we go over here to Naomi, we sharpen 3 chisels at the top of her turn, and she wants all of them to go into this section. So one will go down, it's the chisel that'll stay there, and then you have to spend 1 for every single rock there. So a total of 3. And that's how you interact with the board here. That's how you're breaking off pieces of the field to take fossils home with you. Now, at the end of your turn, if you still have 1 sharpened chisel left, you can decide to save that, giving yourself more actions or more chisels for the top of the round. You can only ever save 1, however, so something to keep in mind. And then optional, at any point throughout your turn, you can interact with the field leader. And again, we'll go over him in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about what happens when you break off a section of the field. So let's go ahead and fast forward here just a little bit. So I'm going to place down a mix of chisels here to give a little bit of an example of what exactly will happen. So green was working very hard at separating this. So this would be a situation where a section of rock has been completely broken off. There's 2 ends that extend into open areas. When this happens, you're going to pull away the smaller section of rock. So the field here is going to remain the main field. This section is going to separate, and then you're going to determine who contributed the most to this split or this break. It's going to come down to, first, how many chisels everyone contributed. So in this situation, blue has 1 here in the center that didn't actually help with the split. That chisel is going to return to blue as a sharpened chisel to be used in another situation because it wasn't actually used here. Then you're going to count up how many each contributed. So blue here has contributed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and green 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So green is going to get the lion's share of this example. If there had been a tie, you're going to go with the active player and then around the board. So the active player would win the tie, and then the next player in line, and so on and so forth. Now how this works when you split up tiles might be the most complicated part of this game, but once you get it, it starts to make sense. You're first going to separate and then flip up any face down tile so that you can see everything that's out here on the board. All the chisels that were used, so every chisel that's now in an illegal play space, so an open edge where it's not actually contributing to breaking apart the field, is going to return to each player as a dulled chisel. Then, starting with the player who contributed the most, they're going to take half of whatever tiles are here, rounded up. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the top player is going to be able to take 5 total tiles from this split section. So let's go ahead and pull 5 over here. Then we're going to go over to the second player. Blue contributed the second amount, so they're going to take half of whatever's remaining. It always splits in half, so the first player gets half. The second player will get half of half. The third player, half of that. And the fourth player, if any is remaining, half of whatever's left. So you're never taking the full amount. So this player here, Naomi, will get 2 tiles out of the 4 that are left, and then the last 2 tiles are going to go over here to the field leader. They enter sort of a store, a marketplace. So you can in future turns, use amber to interact with and purchase from the field leader. Another important thing to note, when you have all of your chisels laid out here on the board, you only ever have 12 chisels. There is a chance that at the top of your turn, when you're sharpening your chisels, you may not have enough to sharpen. In that case, you sharpen whatever you can, and then the last chisels, however many you have remaining that still need to be sharp, will actually come from the board itself. So if you have a lot spread out here, you can reposition them by pulling them off the board. You'll continue playing until you get it down to 2 tiles left. At that point, whoever splits the field the final time will select one of those 2 tiles. The last one will go to the field leader. They will end their turn, and then that ends the game. From there on, you're scoring victory points, which we'll go over at the very end of this video. But let's talk about some of the special actions you can take throughout the course of your turn, specifically with the field leader. The field leader is going to be the marketplace not only for unclaimed tiles, but also for amber. Amber is the resource that allows you to do special abilities or more abilities during your turn. You gain amber in 2 ways. First, by completing an entire dinosaur. So for instance here, I have a velociraptor. It's just a 2-tile dinosaur, and when I complete it, I lay it out in front of me, I announce that it's been completed, and I take a single amber. These tiles are now locked in place, I can never move them, and I've already claimed the amber for their reward. The second way to get amber is to sell tiles back to the field leader. So I may not be using this set of Tyrannosaurus legs, I can sell that into the marketplace to gain 1 amber. And lastly, the one-piece dinosaur tokens, the pterodactyls, which I have one right here, those will give you an amber as well, because they are full and complete on their own. So I'll go ahead and pull one of those. However, the plants, which are a set unto themselves, they score victory points based on how many you have, are not a dinosaur, so they do not give you amber when you add them to your board. Another interesting thing to note is any tiles you haven't placed to score don't have to be revealed. So, if you're playing the game, you can have just a pile of rocks in front of you, and you don't have to share that with the rest of the players until you decide to play them to score victory points. That's when you would play them face up and gain the amber for them. Now, if you use the bone pile, which is the random tile in the game, to complete a dinosaur and gain an amber, you cannot move that bone pile. Once something's been placed open on the board to score points, it cannot be shifted again. So, that's how you gain amber. Now, what can you do with amber? Amber can be used for 4 different things. You can pay the field leader so that your next 2 chisels ignore rocks, meaning they're kind of superpowered. You can place them down anywhere and cut through sections of the board. You can also pay the field leader to sharpen 2 chisels, to take any fossil from the field, or to take any fossil from the field leader, so buying from that marketplace that got stocked up when the field broke apart. Now the cost associated with playing with a field leader. On your turn, the very first time you pay him to do any of those actions, it'll cost you 1 amber. Then it'll cost you 2 amber, and then 3. Now that's specific to your turn, so once everyone else goes, that resets, and the first action you use will once again cost 1. So the course of the game continues to play, everyone chipping away at this board, breaking apart the field, claiming fossils, and building dinosaurs out in front of them, until you get to the end. There should be 2 tiles remaining, the last player places down it splits, and you're on to scoring. Scoring is going to relate to this main card here. This card not only shows you exactly how many of each dinosaur type are in the field, but also exactly what they score. So for instance, the plants score based on a set collection number. So if you had 3 plants, you'd score 5 points, or 6 plants, you'd score 15. Each dinosaur scores based on a complete set. So a pterodactyl here will score you 1 point, a T-Rex will score you 10, and the big Bronchiosaurus there in the center, that is 5 tiles wide, will score you a massive 15 points. Along with that, any amber that you have left over, and any extra unused dinosaur bones that you have just kind of sitting to the side, will score you 1 point each. And that's the end of the game. You will determine who has the most victory points, and as a result, who is the greatest paleontologist of them all. These cards over here are used if you want to play a more advanced variant of the game. What you're going to do is you're going to hand out 1 or 2 of these special action cards to each player. at the start. These are one-time use mechanics that they can play at any point during their turn. For instance, something like the microscope. Receive a bonus amber when you complete a 4 or 5 part dinosaur, or the backpack. Carry over 2 extra chisels this turn. So one-time use abilities that add a little bit more asymmetry and complexity to the gameplay. So that's how you play Jurassic Parts. At this point, really the best thing for you to do is go ahead and get it to the table. I've had a good time playing this game, breaking apart this field. I really like how thematic everything is. It feels like you're cutting away and designing and building full sets of dinosaurs. And the kid in me absolutely loves that. Solid game for families, dinosaur fans, people who like a little bit of push and pull territory control. Thank you for joining us. If you're here at the end of the video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Like because hopefully we've given you a sense of how to play this game. Comment on what dinosaurs you'd like to see included in this. What other bone piles would you like to be able to collect? And subscribe because we put out new videos every week. Gameplay reviews, unboxings, Kickstarter previews, even full documentary videos. We'd like you to be a part of the community here. Whatever you do though, remember to do the important thing. Get out and play some games. We'll see you next time. Thank you.